everyone, my name is Tanya Tarvin, and I thought I would show you a little video tutorial of my new backdrop stand that I made. So let's get started, okay? So I'm starting out so you can see what I wanted to accomplish. Okay, so here is my dilemma. I wanted a portable stand, a portable stand that would create my fall off for my backdrop and get it off the floor. And not only that, I wanted it to be able to move around my studio space quietly and without damaging my floors. So not only get it off the floor so it's easier to work with on my back, ditch my beanbag for one, and then get it off the floor, but create that depth of field backdrop. So let me show you what I did. Okay, so I invested in a mini poser. There's several out there to choose from, but let me show you what I did. I wanted to get it off the floor because it is a mini poser, and I ditched my beanbag. So let me show you. Ready? So I have, this is my stand-in baby. Her name's Pearl. Isn't she cute? So I just want you to see what I've got so far to demo it, okay? And then we're gonna break it down, okay? So obviously I've clamped. It looks like a Paloma shell, right? But it's not. You're gonna see what it is. I've clamped my backdrop fabric and Pearl's sitting on there, so let's just break it down, yeah? So we're gonna take Pearl off. She's modeling my, look at my, let me show you real fast. Oh, my baby Pearl. We'll bring her closer. Yeah, she's cute. I just finished making this romper as well with a matching Sleepy Time hat. It's so stinking cute. Just I gotta show you. All right, let me set Pearl down. Okay, so let me see if I can bring it back so you can see that it's portable. One, you can see it's on a base. On the base underneath, and I'll show you a little bit more. I may have to move my camera back a little bit. Let's go and do that because I don't think it's showing the whole thing. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So let's break it down, show you. So what I decided to do, got clips everywhere. Don't you love your little fishy clips? Your Boca clips. They're great because they don't tear up your fabrics if you're all knit now. And they clamp really well without bending. The ones you get from Home Depot and stuff are so dang tight you can't even squeeze them without, building your biceps at the same time. So these are great if you didn't know. Make sure you get the one without the teeth. Anyway, all right. So let me show you what I did. Ta-da! It is a, oh my goodness, and my brain has just, Papasan chair. Sorry, I couldn't think, my brain just stopped, oh my gosh. It's a Papasan chair frame, but I modified it, okay? So, because remember I told you I wanted to accommodate my mini poser, and here was my dilemma. If I left, because remember a Papasan chair comes in two parts, right? The curvature top part that sits on top of the frame, okay? So I wanted my mini poser to be sitting down lower because I wanted my fabric, if it was on top, it'd be higher and I'd get that bump on my fabric, okay? And I didn't want that. So I wrapped my brain around, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna cut apart my Papasan frame, right? So, let me show you what I did. Let me get the other piece so I can grab. Got it right here, sorry. Okay, so I cut out part of my Papasan chair, okay? And I will link all the directions. I'm gonna type them all up. I'm gonna link what specific tools I used to get the job done. I would say this whole setup, guys, cost me about 50 bucks. I found my Papasan frame. I found just the frame on on Facebook Marketplace, someone was selling just the frame for like 30 bucks. I don't need the dang cushion, right? So score. I got the Papazon frame for about 30 bucks. Otherwise, these things are like over 100 bucks. But I didn't need the cushion, so it worked out great. So, I didn't want to invest a lot of money in it because I knew I was going to be cutting it apart, right? So what I did is I marked, and I'll bring it closer so you can see, I marked what part I want to cut, and I'll show you my frame in a second and what part I'm going to keep. I used a white Sharpie, so remember always measure twice, cut once. So I used a white Sharpie, and I figured no one's going to see it anyway because it's going to be under my fabric, right? Okay, so being that I cut part of the frame out, I wanted to make sure that it remained stable for obvious reasons. Okay, shooting a newborn. So once I cut it out, it kind of got top heavy where the remaining frame right here is, right? So to counteract that, because I know I'm gonna have a little baby here, I didn't want it tipping, right? I did go ahead, and I'm disassembling it, so I'm explaining it. I went ahead and just bought some little Velcro straps. I got like a whole set of like 15 of them or something, like different sizes off Amazon. It was like $8, if that. So, and again, I'll put that link. Okay, so I just used some of the bigger straps. I think I have maybe 3 or 4 on here. So let me undo those. But I obviously Velcroed them to the front and the back of the base frame. Okay, and all that is to keep it stable once I have a baby on here, right? So, but I wanted it to be disassembled because I want to be able to, if I need this space for families or something like that, I want to be able to get out of my studio and through the door frame. So, again, just little Velcro straps, easy cheesy. Okay, so here's the frame. See? Now, what I did is I put my mini poser in there, and I figured out, about how much clearance I would need, how many of the, I want to say bars, so to speak. They're not really bars, but the little wood pieces I would need to cut, because obviously I don't want to cut more than I needed to. So, whatever mini poser you may have, or however you want to put in there, lay it in there and figure out what you need to cut, all right? And I tried to, just a little FYI, let me step back, because notice you have the bigger diameter rails, support rails, and then you have the smaller ones, that go in the concentric circles in the middle. So I tried to minimize how many of the bigger ones I had to cut. So if you look real closely, I think I only cut, because depending on how I rotated it, obviously, if I had it like this, I would have had to cut 3 of them, see? I didn't want that. So again, I tried to, if I held it like this, imagine those 2 below where I cut it out, I minimized my cutting of my structure to only 2 of these large support beams, okay? And then, all right, so then even though these have little tiny tacks, like nails, not tacks, finishing nails, I guess you want to say, again, once you're cutting out part of the frame, a third of the frame, I wasn't sure if these remaining bands or circles would stay in place. I'm not going to take that chance that they would start, coming off. So let me show you what I did. Let me come in closer. Zip ties. Okay. Again, they're going to be underneath my fabric. You can't even tell. But I did go ahead and I ran out, so I need to buy some more. But I did one this way, and then to secure it, I did one over here. So that way, and it's really snug down. So even if this little finishing nail that has this bar comes off, wiggles off, this thing is not going anywhere, okay? And for safety reasons, let me flip it around to the other side. On the back side, let me show you those zip ties. Remember when you do zip ties, how you get that little knobby thing? So I did make sure that my knobby thing was on the underside, so it wouldn't scratch and, run my fabric. My backdrop fabric. So I only wanted the smooth side of the zip tie to be, on my working surface. So this is all underneath the back side of the frame, and it's not going to touch my fabric at all. Okay, and then you can see where I put, I know it's backwards, I just labeled it, center top, center bottom, so I know. Couple other important things to note. When you cut away your piece, you need to make sure you leave about at least 1.5 to 2 inch. Don't cut it flush right here, okay? Because again, you wanna make sure you have enough to zip tie it. But I bought some little silicone caps, okay? Cause see how it's, let me see it. It's real rough right here, right? I wanted a little bit of a lip because I knew I was gonna put some silicone caps on there. And they're just little furniture caps that go on like, chair pieces. So make sure you leave yourself a good 1.5 to 2 inches where you cut. So you put, these are the little silicone caps. The smaller diameter you go, these actually screw into the bottom, which is nice. So these bad boys are not coming off. Again, safety first, right? I don't want it scratching my fabric, leaving a tear or a run in it, and I don't want it poking through my fabric and maybe scratching my baby. That would not be cool. So you can see where I put those caps, and you can always super glue them on. I mean, they were pretty darn snug on my Papasan chair. So again, I'll put the links to everything I used, guys, the caps and everything. Isn't that cool? Okay, so doing that, I made sure that even though I cut that piece out of my frame, it's all stable. Score. Okay, and again, I use, since I did cut that large piece out, I have my Velcro straps to put on, so when I do right on top of the base, it doesn't teeter, right? Okay, let's talk about the base. So remember I said I wanted to raise, if I have that hole cut out, then hello, it's gonna go all the cushion's gonna go all the way to the bottom, right? And then it's gonna be too low. So I was like, all right, I need to have a little shelf to raise it up. So let me hold up the frame. It's really not very heavy, okay? I put some casters on the bottom. Let's break it apart a little back so you can see it. All right, so again, I wanted it to be all disassembled so I can get it out of my studio, right? And if I can assemble it all, disassemble it all, it will weigh less, right? If I can break it down piece by piece. So I bought some, I think this is 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 inch plywood, pressed plywood. If you buy the pressed, it's a little lighter and a little cheaper. So about a long sheet, I think it was a 24 by 48 sheet, okay? Measured my circles, right? And it doesn't have to be perfectly, you can see how it's kind of jagged edge, who cares, right? Because it's gonna sit in here anyway. So let's talk about, oh, and I did paint it because, they're not gonna see the underside, obviously, but just to paint it to make sure it looks somewhat decent. I painted it with the same paint as my studio. Go figure, right? Okay. And the purpose of that is to create a little shelf to raise my cushion up, right? That's the whole point. I wanted to get it off the floor. In order to get it off the floor, I wanted it on casters. So I mounted the frame. Again, I created another circle, and I'll put all the directions. And then I bought some casters. All right, I bought some non-skid casters, so if I have a backdrop laying on the floor or something like that, I can roll over it and it's not gonna mark up my floor or my backdrop, okay? So non-skid casters, 3 of these casters have locks on them. So as I'm working with the baby, I can put a couple locks on and this bad boy is not moving anywhere, okay? So, nice, right? All right, so let's talk about the shelf again, ready? So, what I did is just buy a couple bolts. Let me do it from the side view. And I figured out how much depth I wanted it to be, okay? And I just screwed in, I just drill pilot holes first, right? You wanna make sure you're not going to split your frame. So drill in your pilot holes. All I did is put in my bolts, and bolts, not screws, okay? And then the hex nut of the bolt, put it on the other side, tighten it down, bam, done. And all this does is create a little ledge for my shelf to sit on. Pretty cool, huh? So depending how deep you want it to sit is going to determine the diameter of your shelf. Okay, so you got to kind of, you know, and again, I'll put my dimensions in there, okay? I figure most Papazon frames are about the same, you know, but you might want to play with it. Everyone's a little different, okay? Then what? All right, so let's talk about the base. I told you about the casters. How am I not getting this off the base? Well, over in the PVC pipe section of Home Depot or Lowe's, okay, they have these pipe, I don't know what these are, about bands or whatever you want to call it. All right, and again, I just bought a few of them, and they just, you know, they're made of metal. You can, and they're nice, kind of softer metal, so you know, I can bend them over, and then I had to buy a few screws, and I just screwed them into my base, right? So I think I've got 4 of those straps. So this bad boy is not going anywhere, okay? All right, so a couple of you may be wondering, why did I mount my base of my Papazon chair upside down? Because normally the larger diameter goes on the ground, right? And then the Papazon chair would be on this side. Did it for a couple reasons. After I played with it and I put my Papazon chair on top, remember I want that backdrop to have a nice fall off. So if I would have chose to put this on the bottom and the smaller diameter on the top, where, you know, where the chair sits on, I couldn't, yes, I get a fall off, but it's kind of, the slope was too steep for me. So rather that, I decided to invert it and put this, right? And then when I laid that down, I had more of a circumference, right, of a base, so I can angle my my chair, right, the other part of my chair, I can angle it and get a nice backdrop. I could get the depth of the field that I want, okay? So, and hence another reason I'm doing those straps, right? Because once I did this, a lot of people say, oh, now it's really going to be top heavy because this is the top, right? The wider part would be on top, and it would be, you know, unstable base. So, like I said, this bad boy is not going anywhere. It probably weighs 10 pounds, right? I mean, it is not going anywhere. And when I put that on and I strap it down, safe, okay? Again, I have the locking casters underneath. So 3 of them, if I lock them down, I mean, it's not going anywhere, trust me. One more thing I wanted to add. Let me put the little shelf part back in. So another cool feature, you know, just kind of part of the design plan, is since I did mount this on the bottom shelf, remember this is just the riser for my posing, my mini poser. Set it back on there. Is now I'm gonna have some under storage. So my plan is you can either well, I was thinking I would put some sandbags under there, but seriously, it has enough weight, guys. I know it's, I mean, because, let me stress this. If you notice, I put 5 wheels instead of 4. So, and that is another reason. If I would only put 4 wheels on this circle base on the bottom, it would teeter, okay? So, I know that for a fact. So, if you chose to do 4 wheels, I would definitely put a sandbag under here, all right, to make sure it does not teeter. But because I did put the 5 wheels, like I said, I'm putting weight on this, and it's not going anywhere. So since I don't need a sandbag like I originally thought, I'm going to use this for like my little mini posing, my little beans, my posing beans. So when I, you know, because I may need to raise my little poser up a little bit, stick a couple beans under there to get, you know, whatever pose I want to get, right? But that's it. Isn't that awesome? So I'm really, really excited. So that came together so perfectly. So, and it, like I said, I mean, you see how light it is. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? I'm so excited. So, like I said, the whole point was to get it off the ground. I have a small, if you go into like Lowe's or Home Depot, they sell, Craftsman sells a small stool that is on casters, and it's the perfect height, y'all. Seriously, and it's like, I don't know how much it is, like $30 or something. It's on casters, and it's an adjustable height stool, but when I sit on it, I am perfect height to pose my babies on this, right, with my posing cushion. Sweet. Okay, so, sorry. Got a phone call in the middle of my video. Sorry. So, okay, so I'm gonna piece this video together, I'm sorry. But yes, I'm very excited how it turned out, y'all. I hope you like it too. I'm just so excited. So, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, guys. Be happy to answer. So,